Hello and welcome. I'm Rubina Margosian, and today my guest is Winslow Martin, photographer turned storyteller turned performer. And with his latest performance, that's going to take place in Yerevan, November 19th and 20th, two shows at the Sundukyan Theater. And it's called A Love Letter to Armenia. It's going to be the opening performance of the Yerevan Theater Festival. It's a love letter to Armenia. Winslow, it's very different conversation today we're going to have because we've had done podcasts together. We've talked together so much, and I've always talked to you as a photographer, but now you're a performer, a storyteller of different kind. And you've taken what I understand to be multimedia storytelling to a whole different level. So tell us about Love Letter to Armenia, the performance and the whole concept and idea behind it, please.
Well, thank you, Rubina. It's so great to see you and be here. First, I still do take pictures, and in a sense, that's my primary activity when it can be. Pictures are stories too, and I don't go out with preconceived stories, I find them. And one really great photographer said, every big idea begins with one human story. So over the 26 years, I have heard many human stories, even though I don't speak Armenian, but I've seen many things that perhaps it's the way a photograph tells stories. So to your question about this more multimedia platform, it came over time, and I photographed here so much, it got to the point where I felt an urge to bring the work to the public. And even if I was a little shy about that, that's what the work needs and wants. So it has its own voice. So I've had exhibits, I've given talks. As it evolved, somebody came to me in America and suggested bringing it to a theater. And his idea was to use the pictures in a edited, significant way to tell its own story, to also tell my stories in words that accompany the photographs. And then his extra idea was to use live musicians and working with those musicians to both write original music, improvisation, and traditional Armenian music to interweave with the pictures in a way that they were all communicating together, as you would expect from some kind of theatrical a theater piece. And the first time I did it was, I think, well responded to. And the reason that matters to me is because it's impactful. So to the title, Love Letter, I approach it as if I am directly speaking to Armenia, and in that way telling my story. And I guess I could say that in telling my story, I want to remind you of yours, seen by an outsider. And
Winslow, I'm currently worried about our listeners because we jumped into this conversation because I know we've known each other for a long time, but not everyone listening to us knows the beginning of this love story, your connection to Armenia, yes. And just to add there, your photos, I'm not going the Kudelka route this time around, as opposed to our first podcast. Your photographs of Armenia starting 1999, if I'm not mistaken.
Correct.
When I look at them, for me, there's no difference if it's you taking the photos or all the Armenian great photographers of the time, of that generation, who were working and whose photographs we see today. You have the same sensibilities, sensitivities, and the same theatrics almost of everyone who's photographed Armenia the first years of independence, the harder years of independence. So as you just positioned yourself as an outsider, I'm just confessing that from my point of view as a viewer, seeing your photographs, I don't classify your photographs as an outsider's view of Armenia, yet your love letter might be.
My love letter is both. And I insist I'm an outsider because I don't speak Armenian, and I don't live through especially the trauma, and I don't have the history. That said, I talk in the piece about what I've seen, about the pictures, stories. But I also talk about photography, my relationship with photography and the power of photography. And one big transition here was starting literally as an outsider and finding myself inside. And one thing about the camera, I feel, if you use it well in documentary photography, is that it has its own demands. It's a technical instrument, but it likes best when you get to know people, when you spend a long time, when they accept you and you can photograph invisibly. I used to think that meant sneaking around. It actually turns out that you can photograph more from the inside when they're completely comfortable for you. And if I can say a few important words, comfortable with you, it is unspoken mutual respect, curiosity about each other, and kind of an openness of heart that I received so quickly in Armenia, and it was one of the drawing cards for me. But I have to sheepishly probably admit that that kind of humanity is kind of part of my personality, because I'm genuinely curious about the unknown. And as much as I see a lot of things that some would say is similar, it's like meeting the same person on another day. In a sense, it's always new. And I love that, because for me, it's about the pictures and sharing them. But again, honestly, if you took all the pictures away and they burned in the fire, I would be devastated, but I still have the adventure. I still have the memories. I still have a rich life. And I hope I bring some of that to other people.
I was just going through your social media just today, and you had written that photos had become a story and then the story became a song. But let's not burn the photos, even if they become songs, and because they're so important for also documentation and memory. And going back to the performance, I know that, if I'm not mistaken, you first did a version of this performance, or are we calling it a performance, or is it a play?
I think we could call it maybe photo theater, but performance is fine. I think it is. I think it is a performance. Yes.
In Boston.
I did it in Boston first. It was called "We Wait for Your Return," Menk Spasu Menk Ses, a love letter to Armenia. Do you want me to talk about that in America?
Yes, please, because I was going to ask you about the differences. Because from what I understand so far, it's this whole theater, it's the storytelling that's directed, that has a very specific audience. It's the Armenian people. If it's the Armenian people here, or it's the Armenian people in the diaspora, or it's not, because you're shaking your finger.
I am shaking my finger, because this is such an important point that I know even EVN faces. Yes, it is specifically about Armenia. Yes, the letter is directed to Armenia, and it's a love letter. There's some reality check, but in a love letter, you're allowed to be a little over-exuberant about the positive. So it is that. About the audience. Yes, it's about Armenia, but come on, people. This is a human story of universal appeal. People go to Chartres Cathedral, or they go to the Wailing Wall, and yes, they're in Israel. Yes, they're in France, but if they're really paying attention, which any piece of artwork is really designed for the people that are paying full attention if they can, it is a human story of incredible magnitude. And when I say that, I'm not putting my work on a pedestal, but back to the pictures. I'm so focused on the writing, and because the pictures are there, sequencing the pictures, but I am probably proudest in my work of the deep archive I have of Armenia. And it's not about, I like this picture, I don't like that picture. And I think that's why the History Museum in Republic Square was happy to host my pictures in a very large exhibit, because they saw the history and the importance of that. And we could talk a lot about what are photographs, what is memory, how do photographs turn with time into something else. That's another conversation. But all of that interests me.
And how they're reevaluated and perceived differently
with changing times, depending on the individual. And in a way, the pictures are the collective reaction. It's not your reaction or your reaction. And it's really a beautiful thing. And I think painting's a higher art. I don't think about a lot of things, but it's true for so many of the good art in the world, of which in Armenia, for a small population, it's unbelievable to me. It's unbelievable. The art here, the cooking, the restaurant styles, the museums dedicated to individuals, the architecture, the spirit of art in this country, I celebrate so intensely. And I guess you might say, Rubina, as an insider, and I could almost cry. I'm part of that now.
Yes, you are, with all the exhibitions, especially. Has it been 2 years since the
It was
national?
2 years since the National Gyro, and the Vanitsar Fine Art Museum is actually a very important museum too. I love the regions. I'm not Yerevan-centric.
You're speaking like a complete Hayastansian now. The minute you said, I'm not Yerevan-centric.
No, I'm not a Yerevansi.
You're not. Winslow, it's a very kind of expected question to ask, I suppose, when it says a love letter to Armenia. Are you expecting reciprocity? Because with every love letter, there is an expectation of an answer. Will there be an expectation of an answer in this case?
I have two answers to that question. I'll answer this first. I didn't start the love relationship. It was begun by
She
Armenia.
started.
We can say she, Mother Armenia. We could say we. We could say history and time as lived through everyday Armenians now in traditions of welcoming. It's not a cliche because it's very detailed. You loved me first. Yes, I came with my open, slightly unusually American quality. I wasn't really raised in America, which might have helped. So in truth, these performances are a thank you and a return of the favor. People are amazed that I come back so much and they keep saying thank you. I'm like, thank you. No, thank you. Now about, do I expect something back? Of course I have an ego. And ego's not just bad because it's a motivator, but of course I want praise. Of course I want the house full. Of course I want so many people to come that there are not enough seats. And it's true, but I suffer more from putting the work together to my highest level than I do feedback. And if I can say one more thing about artists, too many artists, no criticism really, it's more like I lament that there isn't more cohesion in artist communities. I like this, I don't like that. I'm too busy doing my thing. If we can't support each other, who will? And I'm not just talking financially, and of course that's an issue. So I hope I'm helping with that too, because my exhibit at the History Museum was a breakthrough for them. Not because of me, but they hosted a living individual, photography, and a non-Armenian. And I always hope that they would then start opening their eyes to photography as an art, as a documentation, that they don't just wait till the people are dead. So maybe long answer, but really I am now reciprocating what first came to me. It's a fact. And a lot of tourists here would know what I'm talking about. And I'm not a tourist, clearly.
No, you haven't been once.
No, I never have been. Once I was with my family. It was amazing.
That was not that far back, was it?
They came for the first time 2 years ago for my exhibit. And my wife, amazing person, and so supportive in all this beyond. She was a photographer as well. She was here. She was exhausted. She doesn't handle the traveling and time differences
but
well
it's
as I
almost
do.
like you had this whole other family here in the form of Armenia.
Well, in a sense, I actually
yeah.
do, and I do live with feet in two lands. I mean, of course, my deepest lifelong connections are there, but I literally am in families with all the difficulties, heartbreaks, and joy. But my wife, we were staying near the Cascade, and I was busy with the exhibit, and first night she slept the night, woke up, walked around Yerevan. She literally looked at me with like wide open eyes that I can really see why you love photographing here. And so she caught it too, which it's important to me, but I'm more happy for her that she saw something so beautiful. And because I've been here so long. We didn't just go to Horvirap and Garni, which we love, but we had midnight, 1 a.m., vodka with my friends and blah, blah, blah. It was amazing for me. Amazing.
Back to the performance
Yes,
that
please.
I'm going to go see on the 19th.
Oh, I'm so happy. I'm so happy about that.
Tell
Bring
us a
your
little-
friends.
I am. The only reason I
Now I'm
haven't...
advertising. Word
Yeah,
of mouth.
no,
Bring
the-
your friends because we believe you will enjoy.
Actually, I think we will be posting this podcast on the 19th. So
That would be great.
that's what it looks like on the schedule right now. So tonight, technically, if I'm talking, we're coming to see your performance.
Right.
Tell us a little bit more about what to expect, because we were talking briefly before we started recording, and you were telling us the setup is a little bit different than what
Yes.
to expect from a
Yes.
classical theater
Yes.
building or
Yes.
setup like the Sundukian Theater.
So the Sudakian Theater is the mother theater. It was started in 1922, and it really is the original theater in some ways. So they have a whole complex. I don't know about their programming in general, but I imagine they do traditional. They do something
They have
like
marble
modern.
stairs and marble foyer.
and the director is a very forward-looking guy for a sort of a still post-Soviet kind of mentality, because he has to work with the government, which have their legitimate kind of ideas about things. But back to the actual performance, what to expect. It is in the main theater, but we won't be, I should say, on the stage, and there'll be an audience. Hakawati, which is a storytelling organization run by Rafi Nizbilian, was really the one to find me with this and want to present this. So he worked with the theater with this idea. This is what to expect. We're actually using the stage. It's a huge stage, and we're going to turn it into a black box theater. It offers dramatics, I think, that will make the piece more impactful. So everybody will be seated. You'll be very close to the photos, which will be huge, and we'll say the performers. I will have in my corner kind of a very small simulated study, as if that's where I write my letter, because it is where I live. And the musicians will be off to the other side, 3 musicians. And so everybody will be seated there. I think people will be pretty riveted. And that won't just be because of the pictures of this or the stories and the music. I think it will be immersive and lighting effects. All combined, I'm hoping will create something like a journey that people will be into enough that they won't feel time passing, and in some ways will sort of be one. So I think the technique of the black box theater is great. I'm not sure what else to say to expect.
I just, for fairness sake, because I'll be seeing it,
Yes.
but not all of our listeners will have a chance to
Right.
see it. So
Yes.
I just ask you for a description so that everyone can imagine what
Sure,
we're
no problem.
about to see or have seen.
Right. Hopefully it's like one of those great movies that you go to and you've heard so many good things about, and you walk out and go, yeah, it really was. Not like,
I'm imagining it would be something of a 3D experience, almost being so immersed in all of it.
I hope.
Well, you're quite rare in as much as we don't meet so many photographers who can also narrate, perform, and are good with words. It's a cliche, but usually photographers great with photography never even put words together other than captions. In that sense, are you nervous with the performance?
Well, that's a very interesting question. So just again, quickly to talk about why that might be, which I don't understand. I wasn't first a photographer. I was a university student, a graduate student in cultural history. I was a history teacher, and I've always loved words. Never thought of myself as a writer, which is a new chapter. So there's all that. I said no to the guy in America that approached me first, because like, no way I'm going to be the center of attention on stage and memorizing, no way. So the love letter idea helps. But then I said, it'd be cool to be working with artists and different disciplines. So I like that part, stage, I don't know. So we went to the stage for the first time. I felt so comfortable. I was shocked. I just really liked the stage. And it would be normal to be really nervous, and I might be next week after. I'm more nervous about the details of bringing everything together, but I'm not nervous at all. Nerves are fine because they show you care, but I'm actually not nervous about that at all. And the brainstorm for me was, I have something to read. It really helps me, and I think it works fine with the piece. So I'm not nervous.
Well, thank you very much.
You're welcome.
We're
Thank
looking
you.
forward to the performance, and I think this conversation will continue on the evening of the 19th, and then afterward with all your new projects in Armenia.
Thank you.
Thank you.